So Michigan attorney Matthew DePerno, you recall he in early December wanted to have a forensic examination of Dominion's equipment, the 16 voting machines and some 22 odd thumb drives and the clerk's tabulator and everything else. He wanted to take digital forensic images of each, analyze all of what they could find, and then determine if there were fraud having taken place. And so a judge had granted that to take place sometime on the 4th or the 6th, I believe. So we're just kind of looking at the updated article from yesterday where it kind of lays out some of what the audit's findings were. And the biggest one is at the bottom, but I just want to kind of show why this started in the first place. Matthew DePerno filed suit on behalf of Bill Bailey. William Bailey is a guy that lives in, where is it here? They call it the village of Central Lake, where there is a marijuana retailer establishment ordinance being voted on. Now they say there are only a handful of people who can actually vote in this place, but there were hundreds more votes cast. And so Bill notices this because it changed the outcome of what the marijuana retailer was going to see. On the first day, they had a tie with 524 votes total cast, 262 for and 262 against the ordinance allowing the marijuana. Upon the recount, however, Bill noticed that the marijuana passed. That was where this started. So just understand that this is, we're in the weeds here in terms of why we're even looking at this audit to begin with. The audit uncovered a ton, though. This says in Central Lake's school board election, 742 votes were added to the total after a recount. So the question becomes, were they missed originally and why? Or were they fake votes added after a recount and why? And why was the recount called? We want to audit these votes again a third time. Legitimately recount or hand count, or just do a simple revote. Dominion's vote total shows 663 people voted in a district where there were only 6 eligible voters. Okay, so again, in the district where there are only 6 eligible people to vote and only 3 of them actually voted, you got 663 people voting. So they just added 660. What do you call that? It's obvious fraud, right? Somehow they added just 660 additional votes to the final tally of 3. This is much bigger than you'd ever thought. So, again, here I'll just read you this piece again. Based on the allegations of fraud, statutory violations, and other misconduct, DePerno wrote, it is necessary to immediately permit the plaintiff to take a forensic image of the 22 precinct tabulators, thumb drives, related software, the clerk's master tabulator, and conduct an investigation of those images, after which a manual recount of the election results and independent audit of the November 3rd election may be ordered to ensure the accuracy and integrity of the election, unquote. So that was the standing for why the judge ordered the initial investigation. And then when they get the report back, he says in the lawsuit, he claims the evidence is going to, provide a ton of, quote, committed material fraud or error in the election, so the outcome was affected, unquote. That is what the gentleman DePerno, the attorney, had alleged, and that was his reasoning for conducting the audit. I want to make sure YouTube is very clear with that. So at 5:30 then, on the December 4th, the judge, Eisenheimer, orders this to happen. Elsenheimer? It looks like maybe they either capitalized an L there. Anyways, the judge, the 13th Circuit Court Judge, Kevin, Honorable Kevin, good man, orders the audit, and says, let's look at this. When they get it back, so just kind of walking through, I don't want to skip over anything. I read through this already. I don't want to skip out. This is why you're watching this in the first place. He had filed permission to William Bailey and his team of IT experts to conduct a forensic study of the 16 voting machines, tabulators, thumb drives, related software, clerk's tabulator, etc. In his court order, Bailey also grants the ability, or was granted the ability, to conduct an independent investigation of the images they obtained in their examination. So they don't just have to collect it and then bring it back to the court for the court to say, yep, nothing here, even if there's something, right? They get to go to a third party and have them determine what it is that they're finding. So DiPerno was quickly able to assemble a team of 7 highly trained forensic IT experts. They fly out to Michigan. They do their investigation. They're escorted by sheriff vehicles. They then get back to the jet. They leave with the evidence. DiPerno waits patiently. And then, what would you know? He says, for the results, they come in from the as soon as they arrive, while waiting, Michigan's radical Attorney General Dana Nessel, who won her election after bragging that she's the best candidate for the job because she doesn't have a penis. Well, she doesn't have a penis attached to her. Added Michigan's far-left, dishonest Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson to the lawsuit as a defendant on Wednesday. So they added Jocelyn. They're now targeting her individually in her position. So you can see here, notified of being sued. Okay. Moving on to this last piece that I thought was the most important. This. Now, this says, when all of the paperwork was signed to allow Dominion into Michigan in the first place, you remember Texas said no. Texas said we're not allowing Dominion into the state. They gave a bunch of reasons why. When Michigan signed paperwork to allow Dominion in, turns out they didn't. They didn't actually sign the paperwork at all. This says, effective March 1st, 2016, the state of Michigan entered into a voting system hardware, software, and services contract with Dominion Voting Systems. This is already the first little asterisk here. We got to look down and say, we produced a copy of the contract without signature. The plaintiff and the attorney have not verified if the contract was actually ever signed. Okay, well, that's interesting. So they just sent you a copy of their terms, in other words? No one ever agreed legally, and then they just took over your voting system. Sounds like China. No counties signed the agreement. Schedule B is the license agreement. This agreement states that the state of Michigan, quote, shall not, without the prior written permission of the licensor, transfer or copy onto any other storage device or hardware or otherwise copy the software in whole or in part except for purposes of system backup, reverse engineer, disassemble, decompile, decipher, or analyze the software in whole or in part. So we didn't sign the document, but they are bound not to let anybody see into the systems. So Jocelyn Benson can say, look, I appreciate that some people think there's fraud, but we can't legally allow those machines to be opened because of our contract. I would understand that. She hasn't said that, so I don't believe that she really feels that way. But either way, that would be the smart move. Tell people that your contract won't allow you to do it. But that's not the case because we didn't sign the contract. And it says here at the bottom again, produced a copy of the contract without signature. So they're trying to say, well, we can't look under the hood, right? In other words, the contract prevents the state of Michigan from looking under the hood at the software functions and what algorithms are used to compute the vote in any election, including this one, the 2020 general. No one agreed to this. She didn't even sign the document. It's invalid. So here's the deal. You're going to call the number on your screen, call the number, ask to speak with your representative, ask to speak with your senator. They won't pick up. But you can leave a message and you can let them know that you may have seen them at a Trump rally. You may have seen them in a commercial. You may have seen them in your hometown, or you may have seen them on TV or in C-SPAN or in some other fashion. Maybe you're not seeing enough of them, but in either case, you need to ask to see them in front of a camera this week. See them on TV this week. See them in social media this week. See them make a Facebook post this week, demanding that the other swing states are audited like this, demanding that all of the audit results are released to the public. Call them, call the number, demand that this happen, because if you don't, they won't feel the pressure. I called my guy this morning and said, Bill Huizenga, I've seen you at the beach house, I've seen you at the Trump rallies, saw you at the Trump rally the night before the election. You know where I haven't seen you yet? Anywhere in public demanding that this Michigan audit be published. Nowhere. So I don't see a reason to re-elect you for another 2 years if you do not push for this now. That is the message. Go let them know. Like the video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Share this video somewhere. It will help. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure the notifications are clicked on. And then do everything else that you can do to keep America afloat.